was fucking easy. This is my favorite build in my favorite cash-grabbing game. I love it so much, in fact, that it's the third installment in my insanely fucking bonkers bash build series. And in this video, we're exploring two things. One, the most broken way of playing bash by far, seeing as the tech we covered in a previous video is now up clearing 155s by this fella. And secondly, what the hell is happening in Season 5? Because, as recording this video, there's but a week left of Season 4. So whether you're looking for a build to spank the remaining of Season 4, or you're looking for some secret techs and Season 5 news, well shit, I've got you covered either way. But first let's talk about the build at hand. It's the two-handed bleed bash build utilizing gushing wounds to deal massive damage. What's amazing about this build though is the incorporation of Rupture along with Rage of Haragath. And why is that? Well shit, due to several reasons. First, you're able to get 0 cooldown on your skills, and that's pretty damn good. But you're also not crowd-controlling enemies when using Rupture. Okay. And what the hell is that good for? Glad you asked. By not crowd-controlling enemies, we can keep spamming Rupture to aggro enemies and constantly reset Steel Grasp. And with Steel Grasp on 0 cooldown, well, let's just say gathering enemies becomes pretty damn easy. On top of that, Rupture is also able to splash the entire screen with AoE, meaning we can get Pain Gorges up way easier than a Hota setup ever could on nearby enemies for absolute bonkers amounts of damage. And damage good. Before checking out the gear and aspects, I'm letting you know that I finally got the massive thumb out of my asshole and made a Paragaming Discord. It's in the description. And in the build planner, it's this version right here. So any questions about that, and I'll punch a hole in my poor monitor. Now, if you've followed my amazing bash builds before, I've done a few important changes. First off, we're still rocking Shaco. The Tuskhelm of whatever the fuck his name is the best second option. But here's what we're doing differently now. You don't want more servability than is necessary. On top of that, you have a permanent access to Iron Skin, boosting your survivability further. And what the hell does this mean? Well shit, it means you only socket and roll max life to not hecking dial Mao. I have 1 max life gem, the rest is dexterity for crit chance. You can also roll dexterity on your one-handers, but you need them to be swords, and you need to re-roll those weapons on a rogue character. This is important for the future, so keep it in mind for future seasons. Unless Blizz removes it, Lumao. All you do is throw your weapons onto the correct character and start re-rolling. It has to be a character that can use the weapon though, otherwise nah. Alright, and then we go for the chest. Rage of Haragath with GA on the damage reduction is just godly, allowing for 0 cooldown skills. But how Mr. Paragaming Big Dick Senpai? I simply don't understand. No worries, so Rupture has a 50% lucky hit, and Rage of Haragath has 40% chance to reset by 1 second. So on average, 20% chance to reset your cooldowns by 1 sec each time you use Rupture. But if you're fighting a gazillion enemies, well then, you get the 0 cooldown resets. This only works for bleeds with lucky hit though, so keep that in mind. Next up are the Pain Gorges. These are still absolutely massive, seeing as they also boost our bleeding when combined with the berserk ripping aspect. For Pantaloonies, slap these on and prioritize the bash for masterworking. Now I'm no broke boy, apart from in real life obviously sub you fuckers, so I'm using incenses to sort a bit of the resistances, but if you're having any issues with that, feel free to grab 2 all resistance rolls. I'll allow it. I would however swap the crowd control duration for barrier generation. Imposing Presence is also being removed in Season 5, Rest in Peace. For aspect, slap on the Iron Warrior aspect real good, and let's check out the sneakers. You're not really looking for these. Instead of fire resistance, you want Warcry ranks. All Rees is also alright if you're a cuck. Hectic is also godly here, allowing us to reset out cooldowns even easier. This is not needed when fighting large packs, but godly on bosses. For the weapons, we're trying to split the crit damage and vulnerable damage for maximum gushing wound bleeds. The ideal ratio of these is suggested to be around 10 crit to 1 vulnerable, but it all depends on what aspects you're running and how high your crit chance is. So between 5 to 1 all the way to 15 to 1 is Gucci my man. For masterworking, Prio Bash Cleave and Slap on the Berserk ripping real good on the two-hander, along with Inner Calm and Moonrise. As final weapon, grab the Grandfather if you have it. This one is rather overrated though, and using a regular two-handed sword with Elements aspect is fine as well. Next up, we have the jewelry. The heavy-handed key passive is just pure god tier for this build, and is the reason the two-handed setup is slightly stronger than the dual-wield setup once you have good gear. So definitely prio that shit. Other than that, crit chance and either counter-offensive or cut to the bones is absolutely massive. The defensive stance is shit though, so ignore that and grab something else. For the rings, these are pretty much perfect if we ignore the fact that I lied previously, and I'm in fact a broke boy that could only afford 1 GA. Chance to make enemies vulnerable is the most important, as you're else relying on Steel Grasp to make enemies vulnerable, which sucks ass. And for aspects, Rapid and Bold Chieftains is the way to go, and you know it. Damn gear and aspects complete. What do you say we have a look at the weapon expertise, shall we? Hell yeah. But first, let's have a word from today's sponsor.
Vincent.
Well, shit. Set Rupture to the two-handed sword, as you can gain some extra bleeding damage after killing enemies then. And Big Daddy Hammer is set to two-handed mace here. For expertise, the two-handed weapon expertise is the way to go. Great job, friends! Let's check out the skill tree now, shall we? Starting off, Bash because Bash good. Enhanced Bash is also our main source of Fortify. We then go all the way over to the defensive skills, grab everything, and stay on Foreskin for a sec. This, along with Tactical Iron Skin, is just bonkers, allowing us to stay alive with ease. Now this one is being changed as it's been bugged for ages, but should still be bonkers. Next up are the brawling skills, which we obviously want a buttload of. Mighty Warcry is our second way of obtaining Fortify, important on bosses, and Raid Leader is our main source of healing along with Iron Skin. We then grab a buttload of passives for Big Damn, and Rupture along with Enhanced and Warrior's Rupture for easy cooldown resets and 40% attack speed. We also find Steel Grasp here, which is both used for gathering enemies and obtaining berserking along with Vuln. This is where we then find Heavy-Handed. Seeing as crit chance and crit dam is the most important stats in this build, you can probably see why this passive is so bonkers when you can gather a lot of ranks in it. And finally, the key passive. Gushing Wounds is just massive for this build, and we're expecting changes to this one in Season 5. So far, we've only been getting some leaks that looked strange to say the least, so let's hold on to our panties for a while longer, shall we? Well, damn, we even managed to complete the skill tree. Let's check out the Paragon board right away, so we can get to the good stuff afterwards. We're starting off with Wrath for crit. We then instantly fuck off from there to the Warbringer board, as we'll find the Might glyph here along with a buttload of resistances. Hell yeah. This is where you find Hemorrhage, which is massive for bleeds. This is looking to get capped in Season 5, which is sad news. Next up is the Blood Rage node, which we cap out obviously, and socket the Exploit glyph for easy vuln. After that we have the Decimator board, where we socket Ire for the damage reduction and to get Blood Rage capped with ease. And finally, carnage. Here we socket marshal for yet an additional way of resetting our cooldowns. And that, my friends, are the Paragons. Easy, huh? It's finally time to get hecking good, because this one's interesting. Pushing with this build is literally whatever you make it. Either you're a shit newbie and suck, or you perfect the craft of gathering enemies. In low tiers, it doesn't really matter, but in higher tiers, you want to attack large packs of enemies with your Rupture to tag them and reset your cooldowns. You then jump around like a coked-up rabbit, trying to gather as many enemies as possible. When you have a buttload of enemies gathered, you blast them down. Spam your cooldowns as frequently as possible and hold down that bash button, my man or woman. It's that easy. As I'm going pretty hard on the offense rather than defensive currently, I may jump around like an idiot for just a few seconds as I'm blasting down enemies as to not hecking dial Mao. But that's me. You can always just grab a few health gems if you want, or simply stop being a cucked soy boy. And for bossing, the absolute best bosses to push for are the ones with ads, ads. This is due to us both being able to reset our cooldowns and spread AoE damage via Pain Gorgers. The only thing that sucks ass with this build, however, is that you need to use Steel Grasp if your berserking drops on bosses. This never happens when zooming, but you may need to keep track of that shit. You should also spam War Cry on cooldown for that yummy berserking. Either way, let's discuss the Season 5 changes now, because this shit's interesting. On the Season 5 PTR, Bash was blasting hard due to Shard of Varathiel and all of the new items boosting our damage. The German was hitting for billions with his Bash hits, and that's pretty bonkers. Now since then, Barb leaks are saying this class is about to be absolutely fucking gutted. We'll see exactly how gutted at the 1st of August, but I expect Bash to still be pretty damn strong. We will, however, most likely not run the Gushing Wounds key passive anymore. And why is that? I'm glad you asked, my beautiful viewer. This is due to Shard of Varathiel, assuming it's not bugged, boosting basic skill damage, and that shit doesn't work with the berserk ripping aspect, meaning it doesn't boost our bleeds at all. On top of that, expect the Gushing Wounds passive to get gutted as it's too hecking good. Bash is either way about to get hard nerfed via their tempers, but that's fine, seeing all of the new items coming in Season 5. So at worst, we'll have an A-tier build. And at best, well, the best build in the game. But I wouldn't expect that, seeing as we have been drinking all of the cuck soy boy sorcerer tears for months now, and Blizz seem to have listened. Alright, that's all for me. Sub, become a member, join the Discord, donate me money and everything you own, lick my balls, and I'll see you in the next one, kings.